We have our MLB season predictions. I'm talking the final record for every team and our official playoff predictions. Before we get into this video, drop a massive W for baseball being back. And let me know where you think your team finishes down in the comments. Now, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, my Texas Rangers are taking it all this year, and we're going to smoke the LA Dodgers while they're trying to three-peat. Unofficial prediction for the World Series right there. We're going to do a real prediction here in a little bit. I can only hope that's what happens. We're going to be going through every team's record. Then we'll go through our playoff run, and we will end with our official playoff prediction, starting with the AL East. The Tampa Bay Rays, and I'm going to let y'all know, I'm more of a casual baseball fan. I don't do a ton of baseball videos because I feel like I'm too casual to, let's say, put my 2 cents in, but I'm going to start doing it. We're going to lock in, and we're going to start putting our 2 cents into baseball. Starting with the Tampa Bay Rays, 93-69, still one of the smartest front offices in baseball. The pitching development remains elite. I think this is a top 10 bullpen in the MLB. The depth over star power model continues to work for this team, and where that's going to help them is down the line. Injuries are going to happen, baseball. You're going to have to play next man up, and if they continue to perform at the level they've been performing at, I can see them winning 93 games. They're kind of, I think their over-under is set at 77.5, and if you just go through and you play good baseball, 93 seems very, very reasonable. Next, we have the Boston Red Sox, 88-74, the young core entering their prime years. The lineup has potential massive upside, especially if the development of the team continues. The rotation consistency is a swing factor, and a wild card caliber team is what I feel like the Boston Red Sox are this year. It's what I felt like they were last year too. Next, we have the Toronto Blue Jays, a team coming off a World Series appearance. Talented core still intact. Pressure to convert talent into wins could rise amongst them. Competitive roster, but AL East depth makes third place possible. Could outperform if the pitching clicks. I think this is probably one of our worst predictions on the board. I could absolutely see the Blue Jays getting back to the big game, especially after the way they lost last year, but also that's a long season. When I tell you what the Dodgers have done going back to back to back is kind of insane. Well, potential back to back to back. It's kind of insane because fatigue does kick in, and I could see the Toronto Blue Jays getting hit with a little bit of fatigue going 7 games into the World Series. Next, we have the Baltimore Orioles, 86-76 for their record. The young core is there, and they are very athletic. They continue to develop, determines their ceiling of this team. I think there's a lot of potential there. And as we talked about with the Tampa Bay Rays, as that potential reaches their elite years, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be a disgusting team moving forward. This is a wild card threat all season if they can get it all clicking together. And the most shocking one, I think everyone's going to eat us up about in the comments, the New York Yankees finishing dead last in the AL East. The roster health is always key. Offensive consistency remains a question. We've already seen them in the preseason not being able to catch routine field balls, routine ground outs. The pitching hasn't looked great. You're edging on, you're relying on Aaron Judge to go out there and be that guy year in and year out. When he keeps disappearing in playoffs, I mean, the New York Yankees, I think we are currently watching the downfall. They're still too talented to completely collapse. They have guys all over the field. And if they could get it all together and stay consistent, the New York Yankees could go from 79 wins all the way up to 93 with the Tampa Bay Rays. But can they stay consistent, and can they stay healthy? That's our AL East standings. Next, we have our AL Central, starting with the Detroit Tigers. Young pitching pipeline trending upward. One of the best bullpens in the game, if not the best. The division is wide open. You have the Royals, you have the White Sox, you have the Guardians, you have the Twins. You've got a lot of bottom tier teams in this division, with the Detroit Tigers stacking it up at the top. If the offense growth continues, they can separate, and clear division favorite is the projection. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. The Tigers Tigers, was it the Tigers or the Royals that blew an insane lead last year? It's all about staying consistent towards the end of the year when it's all on the line. And I think the Detroit Tigers have continuously built their bullpen and got themselves in the position to stay consistent and continue their trend upward. 96-66 for the Detroit Tigers. Next, we have the Kansas City Royals, 84-78, competitive core entering prime years. You have speed and contact heavy approach. These guys like to put the bat to the ball and get on base. Pitching depth decides the playoff push. Their pitching bullpen is kind of in a position where it's either going to be really good and stay healthy, or it's going to be battered and beat up and it's going to fall off towards the end of the year and it's not going to look good for the Kansas City Royals. This is a fringe wild card contender, and y'all are going to hear that a lot with a lot of these teams. A lot of these teams are going to be competing for the wild card down the stretch. Can the Kansas City Royals put it together, and can the Kansas City Royals stay consistent to snag that wild card spot? Next, one of our most massive jumps of the year. Chicago White Sox fans, listen to me. You heard it here first. 81-81. Transitional roster. There's still potential for it to get done. Some upside, but they're still inconsistently likely. I think there's a lot of upside you're looking at with the Chicago White Sox, especially because they sold the team. 500 feels realistic for a mid-tier division. Would I be surprised if they finished below? Absolutely not. I see more potential for them finishing below than finishing above 81 wins. I still feel like 81 wins is an absolute ridiculous stretch. I feel like it could happen though, but there is a lot of bright upside for the Chicago White Sox in Chicago. Next, we have the Cleveland Guardians going 76-86. The pitching development always gives them a floor. The offensive ceiling remains limited, and the competitive lack star level production is there. The Cleveland Guardians are not looking great coming into the season. And last but not least, we have the Minnesota Twins, 71-91. Health and roster depth are the concern. If pitching regresses, losses pile up. They already aren't a great pitching team as is. And if you start losing pitchers, if they start losing confidence, if you have to start messing with your lineup, the confidence of this team is going to get shot and it's going to go downhill quick. And they could exceed with better injury luck, but it's the Twins. We know the story. We know how it goes. And last but not least in the AL, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Seattle Mariners with a massive 95 wins on the season, 67 losses. You have a strong pitching foundation that is just building off of last year. If the lineup produces consistently, 95 wins is beyond realistic. You had good batting last year, and I feel like it could do nothing but get better this year. And the division title is absolutely within reach because you got the Astros. I feel like they're still rebuilding. They went through a little retool last year. They do still have some dogs over there. The Texas Rangers, I mean, and it hurts me to say this, we'll get into them. The Oakland Athletics and the Los Angeles Angels, the top of this division is very, very reachable again for the Seattle Mariners. Next, we have the Houston Astros. Dog, you know what? Y'all are awful. Y'all are terrible. The Texas Rangers own your organization, and we're going to continue to do it this year. That being said, the Houston Astros go 84-78. They're still a competitive organization. They have veteran presence, but the transitioning core is there. You got a lot of young guys that are stepping up into positions and stepping up into bigger roles as the year goes on. They were absolutely decimated with injuries last year. They played a lot of next up baseball, and they went on some crazy runs. The Houston Astros, I wouldn't say are going through a rebuild. I would say they're just going through a retool, and that could spell trouble for the AL West. Next, we have the Texas Rangers. Surprisingly, we have them finishing 81-81. And I feel like the teams we have finishing 81-81, like the Chicago White Sox, like the Texas Rangers, it's going to rely a lot on health. This is a team who has a lot of talent still on the offense. You let Garcia walk. You let some other guys walk in the offseason. You're kind of retooling your team as the Houston Astros did last year. One of the main things for the Texas Rangers is they have to stay healthy. I feel like I'm on the opposite side of the 81-81 than I was the Chicago White Sox. I feel like it's absolutely achievable to finish over this record. I feel like it's easier to achieve over this record than it will be for under this record for the Texas Rangers. The rotation depth remains the ceiling. We got to get guys consistent. And 500 reflects high variance of team play, as we just discussed. Next, we have the Oakland Athletics. Who are they still playing in a college field? I mean, it's sad watching athletics like games. They continue to rebuild, as they have been for the last decade. They're focused on development over wins, which is good. They have some really solid guys over there in the bullpen, in their lineup. There's a lot of potential. And they're competitive is stretches, but talent gap shows. And last but not least, the Los Angeles Angels, potentially one of the worst teams in our rankings. 66 and 96 for the Los Angeles Angels. Let Mike Trout go. You're holding him hostage. I don't know why he's still there. Free him now. That's a demand. The offensive flashes, but pitching depth concerns, I wonder why. And rebuilding trajectory keeps expectations modest. The Angels are going to be terrible, ladies and gentlemen. We already know what that is. That is our official AL predictions. Now let's get these out of the way and let's move on to the NL predictions. Let me know your AL predictions down in the comments. Obviously, I love y'all's feedback. Next, we have the NL East, starting with the Philadelphia Phillies, going 93 and 69. Experienced playoff core, strong rotation structure, built to win now. Division favorite projection is realistic. This is the team last year that I said was the only hope at beating the Dodgers. Now, unfortunately, they didn't make it to the Dodgers. They absolutely fell apart. They didn't get there, and that is very, very unfortunate. I think the Phillies are built to go out there and win a World Series, and you add Adolis Garcia, who again, Rangers fans, we know about Garcia. He is looking like a monster. I just hate he couldn't keep looking like a monster for us. The Phillies have potential to go out here and win the NL East. Next, we have the New York Mets finishing 85 and 77. Financial flexibility keeps them competitive. Rotation improvement is key, and they are definitely a wild card contender. We have the Miami Marlins, 83 and 79. Their pitching foundation gives them a floor. They have something to build on, and it's looking up for the Miami Marlins. Their offensive development continues to determine their playoff viability, and around 500 feels accurate for this team. I can see them ascending it, not by much. I can see them finishing below it, absolutely. Next, we have the Atlanta Braves finishing 82 and 80, just a little bit above 500. They still have a talented top-end roster. The health and depth is going to determine if they can exceed these expectations. It kind of feels like a Texas Rangers aspect from last year. Loaded top-end roster, but when that top end starts crumbling, what is going to come of the team? Do they have a guy that is next guy up? Injuries are going to happen. It's baseball. You play, 162 games. That is ridiculous. 160 something. Let me know down in the comments. Next, we have the Washington Nationals finishing an abysmal 57 and 105. The development focus season is amongst us. Young players gaining reps, which is going to be great for the team. And the rebuild is still in process. The Washington Nationals have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we have the NL West. The LA Dodgers obviously are going to win 100 plus games. I would be shocked and awed if they won under 100 games. The official prediction is 108 and 54. This is the deepest roster in baseball. I'm talking in the bullpen. I'm talking in the lineup. Everywhere you look on this team, it is complete from top up to top down. The elite player development plus spending power is insanity. And I get it. Everyone wants to add a salary cap to baseball. All of these teams can pay this. They're just not willing to pay this. Like I remember last year, everyone was like, well, they have a more expensive team than the Blue Jays. The owner of the Blue Jays owns the biggest telecommunication company in Toronto, in Canada. Lock in. 100 plus wins is realistic if they stay healthy. I don't even know if they have to stay healthy. The depth is so crazy on that team. I would say the one downside, maybe pitching. You had a few guys leave in the offseason, retire, this, that. This is our World Series contender. Next, we have the San Francisco Giants finishing 92-70. The strong pitching infrastructure, the balanced roster build, and they're a clear wild card threat. We have the San Diego Padres, which, Lord have mercy, Tatis, I need you to get there, buddy. I need you to get there. I need to see you with a ring. High ceiling roster. I feel like it's very top heavy. Consistency determines the playoff push in the wild. They're a wild card fringe team. And this is a wild card team that I feel like can go out there and pop a team like the Phillies and pop a team like the Dodgers. The Dodgers and the Padres matchup will forever be one of the most generational fun matchups to watch in baseball. I don't care how bad the Padres are this year. I don't care how good the Dodgers are this year. It's going to be high level, intense baseball. You watch every single one of those games when they come on your TV. Next, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, 74-88. They got an athletic roster. The tough division limits wins for them. In the development year within the competitive window, they went last year and they solidified, hey, look, we're rebuilding. We're going to do this. We're going to sell. And we're going to continue to build. It is hard to be in a division with the Dodgers, with the Giants, and with the Padres while you're trying to retool your team. It is going to be a full rebuild. You are not competing with these teams unless you're one of the best of the best, and your roster is looking absolutely insane. And next, that brings us to the same argument with the Colorado Rockies, 64-89, ongoing rebuild, pitching challenges remain, and long-term team project. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our last division in the NL West, and we were on to playoff predictions in the NL. We have the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs, finishing 88-74. The roster is balanced. The competitive division advantage is there. The solid bullpen structure is there. And the division title projection makes sense. We have the Cincinnati Reds, 79-83 on the year. Young athletic lineup. You're still building around Ellie De La Cruz, who is an absolute demon, an athlete, and a dog on the field. Pitching consistency still develops. I feel like that is the X factor for this team. I feel like you got guys that can get on base and you got guys that can get it done, but can the bullpen consistently keep them in games to where the batting lineup matters the most? Competitive, but slightly under 500. I feel like 500 is a little more realistic for this team. I feel like they could compete for a wild card spot, or they could fall absolutely short, flat on their face, depending on injuries. Next, we have the Milwaukee Brewers, 74-88. This is a transitional period for this roster. The pitching depth is there. Is thinner than their peak years. They've had opportunities. They squandered it. It's time to re-bolster that pitching crew. The pitching depth is thinner. Middle to lower tier outcome reasonable. I feel like I hit the nail on the head with that one. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates, 73-89. Young core to build around. Still lacking overall depth and competitive in stretches, but they're not going to be competitive down the line when it matters the most. And last but not least, our last team prediction, the St. Louis Cardinals, 60-102 on the year. Major retool likely underway. I could see them winning way less than 60 games. I could see them absolutely selling the team and it looking from a retool to a complete rebuild. The youth movement this season is going to determine which one of these happens, and the reset year projection is here. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our final NL predictions. Let me know who you think wins the NL down in the comments. We are on to our official baseball playoff prediction. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to drop your playoff predictions down in the comment. Who is your number one team coming in on the AL, on the NL? Who do you think wins it all? And who do you think is your wild card dark horse? First off, our matchup, we have the Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm going to go with, this is a hard one because the Orioles, if they get in this position, we have talked about their young core and how their batting lineup looks. if they can stay consistent and the young core's there, the bullpen's there, if they take that next step, that could spell trouble for the Tampa Bay Rays. I still think Tampa Bay comes out here and beats them. That will be a massive step for the Orioles organization, though. Next, we have the Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. I told y'all, it's going to be interesting to see if the Blue Jays can get here. Are they going to be fatigued from a 7-game World Series, or are they going to be hungry to get back and get revenge on the LA Dodgers? We have the San Diego Padres taking on the Chicago Cubs. I've told y'all year in and year out, the San Diego Padres are one of my favorite teams, and I think they're one of the more entertaining teams in baseball. Tatis is an absolute dog, and if you don't lose one of your best players for more than half the year, there's a lot of things that can happen. I think the San Diego Padres go out there and win the game. Next, we have the New York... I almost said the Nets. Is that the Knicks? Not the Knicks, not the Nets, Lord. Are those the New York whatevers? I can't remember. And the Giants, the Giants. I'm going with New York on this one. That's New York, right, chat? Hold on, let's scroll through this. San Francisco. Oh no. The Mets, chat, the Mets. Big Mets guy, sick they moved off the polar bear. Think there's a lot of potential. On to our divisional series. We have the Blue Jays taking on the Tigers. Again, the Tigers, solid team. One of the best, if not the best pitcher. I won't say the best pitcher in MLB, but I mean, the man is top 5. I still think they're hungry. I think the Blue Jays are hungry, ladies and gentlemen. And then I think you look at the Tampa Bay Rays and you look at the Seattle Mariners, we're getting a potential rematch with the Blue Jays and the Mariners to go to the World Series. Then we have the Mets taking on the Dodgers. All I can do is clap for that matchup. All I can do is clap for that matchup, ladies and gentlemen. The Dodgers are winning that, unfortunately. And then we have the San Diego Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies are winning that. This was quite literally my projection on how, to be fair, when playoffs started, this is what I thought it would look like. Not from before the season started. We have the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the LA Dodgers. Yeah. And then we have the, I almost said Miami Marlins, the Seattle Mariners taking on the Blue Jays. And when I tell y'all, fatigue is going to kick in. I felt so bad for the Marlins last year when they went out there and they went cold and they lost that series. This year, I don't think they go out there and go cold. I think they beat the Blue Jays. Give me the Seattle Mariners moving on to the World Series. And next we have the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the LA Dodgers, the series we all want to see. Number 2 against number 1. Bryce Harper against Shohei Ohtani. These rosters are stacked and loaded. You got guys that can hit walk-offs. You got guys that can hit bombs. You got guys that can strike out man after man after man after man. I think the LA Dodgers are losing this series. It is hard to repeat in any sport. It is almost impossible to go back to back. Going back to back to back would solidify a salary cap getting put in place. I think the Philadelphia Phillies edge the LA Dodgers, and we get a Seattle Mariners and Philadelphia Phillies matchup with, drum roll please, and new Philadelphia Phillies will be, and y'all can't see it, your new reigning, defending MLB champions. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our predictions for the upcoming 2026 MLB season, from top all the way to the bottom, to the Philadelphia Phillies winning the World Series. If you think these predictions are wrong, please let me know down in the comments what you think the playoffs look like, who you think wins it all, who you think the best team is, who you think the worst team is. Don't forget, like and follow.